the Cup Series or National Cup Series or in the Cedra Truck Series or any of that. First time we've ever been here, ran here with this Cedra Motorsports Drop Super Truck Series and the Court MH Design Series. Jordan, what's your thoughts on the Nashville Speedway now that we got 2 races in the books here?
I hope we run Cup there next season.
We
it
run
was
there
so much.
this season.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Oh, I should probably look at the schedule, huh?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I did not run the truck race. Obviously, I was helping Jeff out, which turned out really great for him. I was super proud of him in Turbo.
Fantastic show last Monday night. I believe finished
did
second.
Great. Yep. I told him to wreck Taylor, but he did not. So it's whatever. No, but I ran the 87 race, and the track is a lot of fun. I led some laps, started in the back, drove up through the front. You can race. There's reward for saving your tires. Save your tires. It's easier to pass. That track's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun and is on the schedule for the Cup Series this season. We do not go there in the spring, but I tell you what, with it being Cedra Country Night, and by the way, another final shout out to everybody who ran a country music artist or country paint scheme on Monday night. I have a feeling that this one, Music City, maybe we'll just broaden it out to all music, will probably be a staple of the calendar in this Championship Developmental Racing Association.
So with that, let me ask you this. Other than your own, whose was your favorite?
I tell you what, I got to give a shout out to the Brian Fletcher Motorsports group for all having Smokey and the Bandit inspired schemes. All three of them had Smokey and the Bandit inspired schemes. I'm also partial to Jim Beaver Youth Sports driver Matt Everhart for having the West Virginia cat meme on his bed, which was
I saw that
great.
one too.
So enough about memes. Why don't we go ahead and dive into this replay here, Jordan, and let's take a look and see what we got cooking from Nashville here.
Let's see if we can help some people out with mistake.
Absolutely, and we're going to start here on lap number 2. This one's involving the driver of the number 18, Ty Smith, and the number 00, Matt Everhart, or not Matt, Mike Oppenheimer. My mistake. All sorts of messed up there. And you'll see it here going into turn number 3.
Yeah, net code happens. It happens. I don't necessarily, but I think I said it in the first time when we were together talking through one of these, is like I never liked the net code excuse because the game thinks you're going to make contact, and there's a reason the game thinks you're going to make contact, either because you carry too much speed or what have you. I think in this situation, Ty just needs to realize that lap 2, and that move isn't necessarily the one to make on lap 2. Mike really didn't do anything wrong. He had the preferred line. I mean, really, that line there, where he entered the corner at, is where most everybody was entering the corner. It's therefore Ty's job to make sure he doesn't slide up into him, and unfortunately he did. Whether it be new track, nerves, not enough practice around other trucks, cold tires, what have you. I mean, it is what it is, and it happened. But lap 2, just chalk that up to a little bit over aggressive on lap 2, I think.
Yeah, we also, looking in the background, because I seem to have missed it, had an incident off of turn number 2, turn number 2, in between Keith Black and Joe Dorsey. So I guess I missed this in our notes leading into the program. And this one, not so much netcode.
No, so it's tough because it's tough to pass on the inside, especially when your tires are even, right? I mean, we're on lap 2. Nobody's tires are cooked off at this point. I don't know. Did Keith hit the apron? It looked like he might have got tight, maybe got in the gas too soon and just shot up the track into him. Either way, again, the passing car is normal. Yeah, he hits the bumps and there it goes. Yeah.
And we were talking about that in the track guide ahead of this week, is that the bumps on the bottom make it so hard to stay down there because it really upsets the balance of the truck.
Yeah, so in the Tuesday night series, I set out and I was running the bottom from the start. Like I never moved to the top. I just ran the yellow line from the start. And off of 2, if you got in the gas before you got through those bumps, you did this exact same thing. You just needed to be patient off the corner. again, it's lap 2. It's unfortunate that it happened for the 13 there.
Yeah, Dorsey.
That's who was the 13?
Yeah, Joe Dorsey, and of course Oppenheimer in there in 3. So really 2 separate incidents here early, which with a 38 truck field on a track like Nashville was likely going to happen.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, it's close quarters. It's a short track, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ish, but
absolutely.
I guess if I was a short track, this is a short track, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cutting ahead to lap number 11 here, and this will be with the 70 of Davis Warren and the 93 of Steve Boylan as they enter turn number 2, or exiting turn number
2. Yeah, so I think that was just
checkup.
I mean, that's Keith. It looked like kind of did the same thing as he did when he hit the apron, but I mean it's kind of the same principle. What happened earlier? It hit the apron, or hit the bumps, hit the apron. Really the same difference here. Shot up the racetrack, and Boylan had nowhere to go. I mean, Boylan's already back in the gas. You know, as soon as you cut right, you're back in the gas here, and there wasn't much time for Steve to miss that, but Davis, on the other hand, maybe should have recognized what was going on there a little bit, checked up, and then everybody just kind of piles in, which is unfortunate too. Is like, especially when you're following that cars that closely with a track that could happen really fast, you really got to be looking like 1 or 2 cars ahead of you, just to make sure you're not going to put yourself in a situation like that.
Yeah, tough break, and that obviously added up a lot of incidents to those drivers, because remember, there are a limited amount of incidents to the drivers in CDRA truck races here at short tracks. So moving on ahead, now we need to go to lap number 18 here, and this is actually going to be 2 incidents. This is going to be involving the number 6 of Chris Blackstock on lap 18. If I can get there. And the number 20 of Peter Acumano. And there's also an incident involving Jeremy Heath and Ty Smith as well. So you see the contact there between Kepf and the 20 of Acumano. Move it forward, another hit, and then they're 3 wide here, and then contact. Again.
Yes, yeah. I mean, really, Chris just needs to realize that you put yourself. You're going 3 wide here. I mean, spotter should have told you that. And you can, at this point, you can assume that you're probably still going to be 3 wide because of the amount of speed that the 20 lost due to being knocked sideways off the corner. He's down. I would venture to guess and say 8 to 10 mile an hour on the field here. So you can just assume that you're probably going to continue to be 3 wide, and Chris just keeps coming up.
Yep.
There's really no reason the way you enter the corner, especially when you're on the bottom, there's really no reason to shove the guy up like that, but it happens.
Yep. So we see this incident, and this one takes place, but behind them, if I can, not exactly the most scientific method of doing this, is going to be right here between the 21 of Jeremy Heath and Ty Smith in the 18. And contact, and big contact coming off of 4 there.
So I don't necessarily know if the 18 here did anything wrong. I don't think he slid up as much as the previous incident with Keith. We're watching him when he slid up the track. I think, maybe a little bit. I don't know. It's just kind of a racing deal, because I mean the 21 took the high line, so he's going to have more of a run off the corner. But yeah, I don't know. To me, that's a racing deal where, the 18 doesn't have the speed off the corner because he ran the bottom, which is a legitimate line to run. I mean, you save your tires a little bit more than running the top down there or versus the top. 21's going to have a little bit more speed. Maybe the 21 assumed that he was going to get a car outside, that the 18 was going to get a car outside, but it's just not what happened. The 21 also could have been a little bit further out there on exit. But I don't necessarily know if he was trying to make that move either. Like, that's one of those situations where sometimes it happens so fast, especially off the corner like that, there's really no time for you to react to something. Like the car, like the 8. So if the 18 did slow up any, versus his previous laps, there might have not have been enough time for the 21 to even react to that. Or, in fact, I don't know, was the wreck ahead of them happening at the same time? Or did it happen like literally the same time? Or was the 18 maybe looking ahead and saw that and slowed down? I'm not sure.
But not really, because if you look over here, there's the Blackstock incident, and you'll watch.
So it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. And by the time he's sideways is when that actually starts happening up here. So it's not quite. In fact, there you go. You start seeing the bright lime green truck of Peter Acamano get airborne there. So yeah, that's just unfortunate. Two really bad incidents as far as just unfortunate incidents right there.
I'll tell you what, there's something I do see. Back up 2 cars here. Go to the car behind. Yep.
The 91 of Johnny Parham.
Yeah. So I want to point out, like, look how much of a gap he's got to these 2 guys wrecking. And he still gets involved in this. You need to realize, or, this is what I was talking about earlier about looking cars ahead, right? Yeah. Look 1 to 2 cars ahead, make sure that you're all good off the corner. I mean, really, there was no reason for him to be involved in that, especially with how far back he was. If he was right on the 21's bumper, yeah, but you're 5 car lengths back in, you're running into that, ruining your own race for no reason.
Yeah, and that's not the first contact he had, because he was in
No, he did it. Yeah. I think he did it on the previous one too.
Yeah, so not something to work on.
Driving off the hood pins is what they call that.
Yeah, driving off the hood pins, as they say. We got a long green flag run after this one, and
I was really impressed by the long green flag run. That allowed some strategy to happen with the guys, messing with the tires. That's been really good. I got taught a lesson at Iowa about the whole tire situation. But the long green flag run is something that the series needs a lot of, or needs more of, I should say, is because that's how you're going to learn how to race, learn how to give and take, is when you're on a long green flag run.
Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you have restart after restart, you're inherently going to be aggressive on restarts, because obviously that's your best opportunity to make up multiple positions. But the long green flags runs is where you make your bread and butter. As far as like learning how to race and figuring out actually how to run a race.
Yeah, and the great thing about the long green flag run that we did have, or the long green flag runs that we did have here at Nashville, was the fact that because it was a long green flag run and it's such a short track, a lot of the mid pack, so a lot of 10th on back, 20th on back, got to deal with some lap traffic, which is something that typically only the leaders really deal with. So with the, traffic kind of falling back through the field, you actually had a lot of battling where you had to find ways to get around trucks when you're running 12th, 15th, 20th, which doesn't typically happen at that point. So really awesome green flag runs. Got to give another tip of the cap to everybody, because 38 trucks at Nashville on paper looks like it's going to be a nightmare, but I like to say I think it was a pretty darn good race. So
no, absolutely. Yeah. And the whole lap traffic thing too, I mean, that's getting through lap traffic is an art, right? You as the leader, you're kind of at a bit of a disadvantage. If you're second, I think Matt Everhart was following Taylor, and I think he could probably tell us, but I think he's in chat.
Yes.
He probably made up ground. I'm sure Taylor maybe had a gap on him a little bit, but then once Taylor hit lap traffic, I'm sure he made up ground, because obviously those guys are going to be less apt to give the leader, especially on a short track like this. If you lap up to 15th place, I don't know where Taylor lapped up to, but your easy, quote unquote, the easier cars to lap up to, the back guys that are used to getting lapped, off a pace or getting, because they got damage early on or whatever, they're not going to fight the leader too terribly much. But because we got that long green flag run, you're going to dig deeper into the field or into the front runners. The farther up you lap, the harder it's going to get, and then you can make up that time there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the great thing about a long green flag run like that, is not just we get a lot of restart practice. We get plenty of restart practice, but when we actually get into the string of things and we actually have long runs, it really does lead to learning some various aspects that, to be honest, you can't emulate without just having it. So
Matt just said in chat too, he said he thought he would have had Taylor in 5 to 10 more laps. He was burning his tires more than he was in traffic. Matt's saying Taylor was burning his tires more in traffic, which makes complete sense, because as Taylor, you have to be cautiously aggressive with the lap cars to try to put them a lap down. Because if you're not, you're just going to lose time to the guy behind you. And as soon as the guy is lapped, well, they're not going to fight the second place guy because that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So they're going to fight the leader. So you have to be more aggressive and burn your tires off. So it's a game of cat and mouse there with trying to figure out, okay, how much tire can I give up versus how hard do I have to run to lap these guys?
Absolutely. Moving on. Unfortunately, the green flag run was ended by Tyler Tucker just looping it off of turn number 4 right here and just looping it, and unfortunately just that right there was enough to trigger the caution and ending a 20 plus lap green flag run there. Actually, it was almost 40 laps.
Yeah, it was I think the reason he spun is honestly because of the tires, right? Like we were at the point where the tires were starting to let go, just as Matt was saying, he thought he would have had 5 to 10 more laps on this green flag run here and he would have been able to get to him or get to Taylor, but I noticed, based off of helping Jeff out, the right front burns off, obviously, but the right rear was actually burning off a little bit too. So that's going to lead me to believe that truck was going to get looser and looser over the course of more laps got put on it. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I don't necessarily know how hard Tyler was running or where he was running at during the race. Maybe he abused his equipment a little bit more than other guys did. But that, again, that's just one of those situations where I would point towards tire wear, the reason for that one.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can probably say the same thing about Matt Wood here on lap number 91, as you'll see Matt Wood just loop it off of turn number 4 in almost the same fashion, just a little bit higher up on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of the same deal. That right rear is going to give up. You're going to have a lot of wheel cranked into it. So on entry, when your right front gives up, that's going to make it tight. And then when your right rear gives up, that's going to make it loose. So on exit is what the right rear is going to mess with. So you're probably going to have a little bit more wheel into it than you normally would. And then you get a push loose situation where you've got so much wheel cranked into it. And as soon as you get back on the gas coming out of the corner, around it goes.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Matt Wood there. So if you watch it here, well, unfortunately I got to hide the UI to show you it. But if you watch his wheel, you don't even see the stripe on the wheel. And as we roll it forward, there we go, you'll notice he's got so much wheel in it that the rear end comes around and bang into the inside.
That's one of the things I was kind of, as I was helping Jeff out through the race, and same thing with Anthony too. Just telling them to be patient off the corner. This is one of those tracks where as long as you're patient with the throttle off the corner, it's gonna reward you in the long run because of the tire wear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only with your right front, but also your right rear. Like if you're patient, that means you have to put less wheel into it, and then that burns the right front off less off the corner. And then also, if you're patient with it, it also burns the right rear off less. So then, therefore, you're just in a better situation all the way around. You're definitely going to give up time at the start of a run, but you're going to make it back up hands down towards the end. It's probably tenfold.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on to our next incident, and this one is not an incident. This one is actually just a kind of a bad luck situation here for Nate White here on lap 104. Apparently had some engine damage at this moment. You'll notice right about now. There it is. Now he grenades the engine and isn't able to get to pit road. And because he wasn't able to get to pit road, that's what created the caution on lap 104 there. Unfortunate circumstances for Nate there.
So actually go back and watch this from his rear, like do the rear chase view.
Yeah, rear chase.
Because I want to point out how, he's got 2 or 3 trucks behind him here when he blows up. So he does the smart thing and moves up to the, it blows up. And actually this happened to me last week at Talladega in the cup race. I wasn't paying attention to my temps. Yeah, it was like lap 15 or something like that. It was something dumb. I was just being dumb and not paying attention to my temps. But, he does the smart thing here and moves up the track. Yeah. Obviously, he's got no throttle input here because even if he does have the throttle mashed down, it's not going to do anything. And he waits. Maybe could have waited for this guy to pass him. But at the same time, no harm, no foul here. Yeah. He got down and he's off the track. He unfortunately blew up in the wrong spot.
Yeah, if he was in the opposite end of the speedway, he probably would have been okay because then he could have probably coasted it to the pit road. But because he just missed pit entry, it did bring out this caution, unfortunately. So
I wonder what happened to him to have that blow up, though. That's unusual. especially if once you have all your damage fixed. I mean, obviously he's got a little bit of nose damage there, so I don't know if the cooling was destroyed at that point. I'm not sure, but that's another. Again, I mean, going back to when Parham kind of ran into somebody. I mean, that just goes to show you how little damage it takes to completely destroy your race.
Oh yeah, and especially at a short track, because they already maximize the setups basically as much as they can so that it doesn't account for nose damage, and because it's fixed setup, you can't take off the tape to try and cool it down that way, and then you end up just grenading motors. It's just the name of the game when it comes to this. So unfortunate for Nate, he was running fairly well. He was running 17th at the time when he blew up, so that's a tough break for him. Moving along, we're going to go to the 81 of Connor Holden, and on lap 123, he had an incident with a driver. Oh, yes, it was Court's favorite driver, John Wilco, unfortunately, is part of CDRA Twitch Teach this week. Going into one, and bang, and just slides it, does a cool drift for a little bit. Mason Dunn with the nice avoidance of this one. And Chris Blackstock into the driver door of the 81 of Connor Holden there.
Those slow and lazy spins are the hardest to miss, because, at that point, you don't know if his momentum is going to carry him back up the track, or if he's killed enough that it's going to continue down the track. And that's, he gassed it up too, which is not necessarily the worst thing you could do in the entire world either. But especially for Chris, that's just a hard one to miss.
Yeah,
because I think here you have it noted that Wilco must have missed his breaking point, which I think I remember him apologizing in the server for a few times. And John doesn't make many mistakes.
No.
I don't know if the car in front of him swerving down like that made him miss his breaking point. Some guys are more visual, need to look ahead in the corner. Some guys need fence off to their right, and then they kind of start losing track where they're at, where they need to brake at and stuff. But it happens.
Yeah, so looking back at this, if we can follow off of Chris Blackstock, and this kind of reminds me of something that we talked about at the Darlington Twitch Teach. In fact, it was the first incident we ever reviewed on CDRA Twitch Teach. It's a case of, if you look just right here, this is the widest possible aspect. This is the widest spot. This is the widest target possible. This may as well be one of these, or even this, or even this. It's a giant billboard coming towards you, and unfortunately, Chris really hates Mason Ramsey and torchecks the number 81 of Connor Holden there. So unfortunately,
not a big fan of Sirius XM's The Highway.
No, doesn't like the country music. I mean, that's fair. I mean, hey,
rewatching it here from this point of view, I mean, he does have the opportunity to go high, but I think he made his choice right here, right at this moment. I think he made his choice to start turning low, and by the time that you make that choice to turn low, it's hard to change that direction without completely messing yourself up. Maybe a little bit of target fixation too, where some guys have a tendency to look and then steer where they're looking. Yep. That happens quite often too, especially when you're racing on monitors. That something that as you sim race more and more and more, you should be able to overcome that a little bit more. But it's just something that happens.
Yeah, it's just tough. And when you come to these, moderately to high bank short tracks, this is a pretty good example of it. Bristol is probably the best example of it. But typically, try and go high, because they're self-cleaning racetracks for a reason. Everything, if you spin like this, chances are they're going to roll down to the bottom. So going high is probably the best idea there, right, Jordan?
Yep, absolutely. Especially because, like you said, that he's going to be still in the gas trying to save it. And he's gonna, like you said, the track's gonna self-clean.
Yep.
Mason was already in the position to go low, so he didn't have any drama needing having to go low.
Yeah.
He missed that completely.
Yeah. He was fine, but unfortunately Chris was not.
Yep.
Okay, so next we have an incident involving, unfortunately, two drivers well off the lead lap at this point. We're gonna be seeing an incident on lap 110 for the 33 of Roger Espinoza, and he will get into an incident with the number 21 of Jeremy Heath here in just a moment. In fact, it was a leg issue, I believe, on this one, as there's Jeremy Heath, and they make contact off of 2. That's not leg, but there's the leg for Mr. Espinoza. So we'll follow this off of number 21 Jeremy Heath, who did not have a nice day at Nashville, as we're starting to see quite a bit.
And I think the thing that made this wreck a little bit frustrating, I think, for a few of the up-front guys running up front, is these two cars not racing for position, completely different laps by multiple laps.
Yep. If you look, Espinoza is on lap 110. Jeremy Heath is on 118, and I believe the lead lap is something like 137. So it's two trucks running about 15 to 20 laps down at that point.
Which, don't get me wrong, I mean, those guys have every opportunity and every right to be racing on the track.
Yeah.
I'm not saying those guys
should park.
Screw those guys.
No.
Yeah. That's not what I'm saying at all. But, that it just leads to a little bit of frustration through everything. I think what happened here, though, is the 33 was down some speed through the corner, which allowed him to cut the corner off more than usual.
Yeah.
From how high he was. So it made his exit a lot more shallow, which the 21 was running low. So he needed that space, and it was just a meeting, just met it together in the middle.
Yep.
I think, in the case of you being a lap car and letting somebody go, you just need to kind of exaggerate where you're running and make sure you're very deliberate in the lanes that you choose and try to maintain that. Because really what happens here is, you're in the high lane here, but then you enter in the high lane essentially, and you try to exit in maybe the middle to low lane where that car normally would be running. So what you really want to try to do is just make sure you hold your line throughout the entire corner, including exit, especially exit, especially with how much speed difference there potentially could be.
Yeah, and we were mentioning it in the Court GT test race last night at CTMP. You wouldn't think that there's a little correlation in there, but slower traffic, be predictable. In this case, slower traffic, be predictable. Just give a lot of room. Just act like magnets of the same polarity. Just stay far away as best as you can. So
and I think too, as a lap car, for me, my preference when I'm driving through lap traffic or even when I'm getting lapped is I try to hold my line and I make them go around me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the absolute best thing. That's not necessarily what happened here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general is a lap car etiquette thing is just run your race.
Yeah.
Make the lead lap car get around you. Don't hold them up. I mean, if you have an opportunity to let them go, but don't lift off the corner. Don't hit the brakes coming off the corner to let somebody go. That is the best way to get in trouble as a lap car, is just lifting and changing the amount of momentum you have coming off the corner.
Yeah, at this point, what Roger probably should have done is probably backed out of the throttle at this point. He probably saw that he's probably getting the spotter message that he's got a car inside, probably let off, and then he would be able to let Jeremy through. But at that point, he's still turning pretty good, and Jeremy's coming up pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, you're scrubbed off enough speed that you can make that cut like that. Where normally, if you're running at full speed, you can't do that. Your car won't change direction like that, or at least to that drastic of a degree. So you're inherently gonna push yourself out towards the wall anyway if you're running at speed. But because of the speed, like I said, with the speed difference, he's able to make that move. The 21 running faster, It, again, just kind of happens.
Just a unfortunate incident. So,
real quick before you go to the next one,
yep.
Matt Everhart asked if we could review the restart where the two guys, I think it was Brian Fletcher and somebody else, stayed out on old tires. I forget who the other
Drew
car was. Yeah, was it? No, I'm sorry, I meant Drew Glover. Yeah, not Brian. I think he said it thinks it was lap 80. Nate White and Drew Glover.
Yeah, Nate White and Drew Glover. I think it.
Sorry for calling you Brian.
It's all good. He's been called worse. In fact, here it is right here. Yeah, so this is a prime example of old tires kind of getting eaten up alive.
I liked Drew's strategy. I think it ended up working out for him too. I think did you finish higher up than what you were running?
I believe he did end up getting involved in that last incident on the final lap that took out a few drivers, and I think he ended up
would you have?
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, was going to.
Yeah, okay. He was going to. I ended up carrying the banner for Arrow, so unfortunate for him.
But rough day for Arrow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, you see a little bit of wheel spin. Yep. And
Absolutely.
There you go.
I mean, old tires, a little bit of wheel spin.
Yeah.
I think as the 07, you just kind of, as Matt, I think you just kind of got to realize and give a little bit more space than what that is. I mean, if I don't know, you're in a tough spot too. There's not much you can do. And I don't blame Drew or those guys for trying to stay out on old tires, because I mean it's a tire strategy game now. You know, with our tire limits, I mean that's part of it, right? Yeah. You can't blame spin the tires. I mean it happens. I mean it happens on Sundays with with the NASCAR guys. Well, maybe not anymore, but
yeah, mostly Wednesdays sometimes.
Sure.
But no, I mean, yeah, when you look at it, they're 90+ lap old tires, and you're doing essentially a launch, right? It's not.
I think the other thing to note too is like I said before, restarts are going to be where you have the opportunity, if you're aggressive, to make up a lot of positions.
Yeah.
But you can't put yourself in a bad spot because of it. And that's maybe what Matt did a little bit, he maybe got a little bit too aggressive after he saw he spun the tires.
Yeah.
Maybe got a little bit too impatient and ended up costing him more than what it would. But if Drew would have spun the tires more and would have moved down to the middle and Matt shot the outside, like then he's running third here.
Yeah,
so,
and then he's got a giant. It's a real risky move because it either works out really well or it doesn't work out very well.
I mean, that's just restarts in general, though, too. Even if somebody's not spinning their tires with old tires, like you just got to balance that. Okay, I can stick it 3 wide here. Should I stick it 3 wide here? I mean, and I'm not saying you would do that at Nashville, but like at Michigan,
yeah,
we're
like a mile and a half or something.
Sure,
yeah, like a Texas or yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, good check to see how that went. For that. So now moving on to the 94 and the 93, they had a run-in on lap 141, and 2 pink and black or pink and white trucks getting together here in turn number 3. Boylan on the bottom, Potter off the 4, and Potter will get the wall, and Boylan will get into him, and that will bring out the caution with 8 laps to go.
So this is the opposite of what I was talking about with Roger earlier.
Yeah.
You know, you enter a little bit higher than maybe you normally would, and then you try to get back on the gas faster than you normally would, and instead of being able to make that change of direction, you do the opposite. And you can't make that change of direction coming off the corner, and you just hit the wall. Are they on the same lap as Ryan? I mean, not that necessarily matters.
Yep, they were. Or no,
okay.
Boylan was 1 lap down.
Okay, so I mean, it's not that. I mean, I guess my question was Ryan multiple laps down?
No, Ryan was on the lead lap.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, he's trying to pass lap cars. He's trying to continue on with his race. Again, it's just one of those things where more laps, you realize, hey, I'm not going to make this corner. I should probably not gas it up right here and save this thing. And by me letting off and maybe hitting the brakes, I'm going to lose maybe a second to the guy in front of me, a half a second, but that's certainly better than knocking my toe out and then destroying my truck.
Yeah, and amassing incidents, because again, that incident limit, we even raised it from New Smyrna, the first short track of the season, and it still creeped up on some people on Monday night. So that led to one last restart or two. Actually, that's kind of an oxymoron, one last restart or two. But this one here involving Tyler Tucker on lap number 148, I believe it was. It's going to be right here. Yep. And this is going to be just a checkup, boom. And that brought out the caution for our first green-white checker of the evening.
Yeah, what? Somebody... I think if I remember correctly,
Looks like Nick Hansen didn't get
fourth. I think what happened though is he was trying to anticipate the start, went too early, hit the back of Taylor, and then that caused everything. I believe, if that's this restart, I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is in fact, that's appears to be what happened there. If we can listen closely and hear if there's a bang here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Shoved by the 17 just a hair too.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you're again back to the whole restart games thing. Restarts are where you can make up some positions. Some of these guys maybe are a little bit further behind than what they were running before. Some of these guys come from the back and made their way up through.
Yeah, well, I mean,
late race restart. Really.
Yeah, I mean, we're end game here. It's a 150 lap race, lap 148. I mean, you gotta go. I mean, at a certain point, the aggressiveness factor needs to go up to the point where, hey, we're near the end. I need to pass you. Needs to be a very big factor of it, but unfortunately it did lead to a little bit of a checkup, and then that led the 76 into the 17, into the 92, into the 24, into the 44, and as you can see, they say it all the time, chain reaction, and in fact 44 into the 65 at that point.
And that's what 13th, that happened in third place.
Yeah,
and it ended in 13th.
Yeah, so that should tell you everything that you need to know about that one.
One thing to note too on restarts, if you're the leader and you can control the restart, vary where you're going, because these guys are going to try to anticipate it, which is what happened. Taylor was going at the almost same spot, I want to say, almost every time, which I'm not a fan of. Like, you got to vary that.
Yeah.
We get to about that yellow line right there and take off almost every time. As the 97, as the 76, as everybody else, like, you pay attention. Like, that's something to pay attention to, is when I'm running and I don't have the luxury to look at the replay. I'm always paying attention to that kind of stuff. That's something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Everybody is apt to, for some reason, especially on restart type tracks, if there's a line across the track, more times than not, that's where that person is going to go, is because it's like something in your subconscious is like, oh, well, this is my restart. This is my restart marker. You just got to change it up if you're the leader,
Yeah, it's like a pitcher in baseball. You got to have, a slider, you got to have a curveball, you got to have a changeup, you got to have a fastball, and Taylor was just throwing heat the whole time, just throwing heat.
Which I mean, maybe do it a couple times in a row and then vary it up. But I just want to point that out for the whole, as a whole, as a restart deal. Just vary your restart zones up. It'll benefit you for sure in the long run.
Absolutely.
This track might have been a little bit more difficult to do that at because of how the pace car pulls off and how quickly the green comes out, but it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, this is our final incident review of the evening. This one was on the white flag, so this actually didn't bring out a caution. So this is between Brian Shibler, who I believe is known as Shibbles and Bits, to the Brian Fletcher Motorsports team, and Kyten Bumbersbach. I called him that during the Indy 500 qualifying, and Brian got a really big kick out of it. So there you go. You got an impromptu second mention.
We got dad jokes, and now we got Dave jokes.
Oh man, we've been at it 8 years, and people haven't gone away. I'm shocked. But coming off at 2, final lap. Drew Glover does a 50-50 grind over Kyten Bumbersbach. And then Matt Wood's involved. Crazy incident here on the final lap of this one. Aaron Kep's in it a little bit. And, insults to injury. There's Eric Kite and Jeremy Keith.
I feel like
again.
Brian gave Kite enough room there to make that move. And it just... Kite's there, comes up a little bit, maybe a little bit of net code, which again I hate, but
I think he would have hit him anyways.
Exactly. I don't know. Racing feel is what I think that is. Last lap, man, you're going for it.
Yeah,
the 30's got some momentum. Yeah. That sucks for Drew because Drew would have.
Drew was running 10th. At the line, he was 10th place. This was a battle for 8th.
Yeah. Oof.
And he fell down to 19th, I believe, in the finishing order. So Drew almost gets there. Oh man, he almost gets there. Like he made the right play. Sometimes it's just bad luck, but like he makes the move to the inside here. Like he really does like jut it to the inside, but unfortunately these guys are coming down. It's almost like Kite's kind of driving the 68 down, and then it just leads to just and then
Yeah.
Drew does a cool board slide, ollie, like it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and there's Eric Heighton there and Jeremy Heath. Not a great night for Jeremy Heath, unfortunately. Look, shout out to these guys though, even despite the fact that it is the final lap. I got to give a shout out to.
Oh no, yeah, they're going.
Yeah,
I mean, there's spots to be made, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about Steve Boylan and Ryan Potter.
Right.
They slowed up relatively well, and in fact, you see that nice move by Boylan here. Got to give a shout out to my teammate Steve Boylan here.
Did Drew get clobbered right here by the 99? I feel like he might have. Is that the 99?
No, he did not. But he did get clobbered by the 68
again. Oh, again, got him again.
Efforts.
That's a twofer.
Oh man, poor Brian. That's just unfortunate on the final lap of this one. You ever have these races? I remember so many races back in, like, not so much the NTK3 days, but like my early iRacing days when I would run, in other leagues or anything. Sometimes these last laps would just devolve into, especially at short tracks like this, where you have a giant wreck and guys are trying to get it going again, and they just continue to wreck into one another at like 6 miles an hour. Yeah. That's what this kind of feels like. So unfortunate break. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunate break for Drew Glover here and the rest of the field here, but that's just what happens sometimes on the final laps of these things.
I feel like in most of these,
and at this point, Drew just gives up and is just, I'm going to back this thing up and reverse across the line.
I feel like had that not been the last lap, majority of that nonsense wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be a little bit more patient getting going, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's Nashville for you, and one heck of a show from Nashville Speedway USA on that's the old name. I don't think it's known as that anymore, but
Fairgrounds Speedway, man.
Yeah, Fairgrounds Speedway Nashville. I remember from Nashville, I got the old school thought process as to what that place is known as back in the day. But yeah, really good race from Nashville. Really looking forward to our next trip there in the CDRA Motorsports Drop Super Truck Series, whenever that will be. Because I really do firmly believe that that might be the best short track race that we've had this season. Maybe the best CDRA race we've had this season, period. A lot of fun to run. Just a fun racetrack. I can't wait to, it was to the point where I was really, I enjoyed it so much on Monday that I was extremely excited the fact that we were running it again in the Court MH Design Series the next night.
I wasn't planning on running Tuesday night, but after I saw how the race went, there was a few cautions, which is to be expected, especially for a series at a short track. A series, that has majority newer-ish or not as seasoned veteran drivers. You're gonna have cautions, obviously, but I wasn't gonna run Tuesday, and then I saw how that went, and I saw how fun it was, and how much talking through those guys on TeamSpeak, talking through the race with them. I was like, hell, I'm going to run this thing.
Yeah.
But surprise the night for me, November 11th, we're there in the Cup Series. So
yeah,
that's going to be
November 11th.
Good.
That, to be fair, that was originally supposed to be a Bristol race. But
that may be where I was confused.
It was replaced. It was originally Bristol on the Dan Lisa, but it was always going to be a Nashville race.
The Volunteer Blaze It 420.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Well, obviously the Cup races at Nashville used to be 420s, which is kind of weird, but that's how they were labeled back in the day. That'll be 210 laps there for the Court National Cup Series, and I believe that is the playoff cutoff for the Court National Cup Series when they head over there.
Correct, you are.
Yeah.
Curtis Granger asks, do I have any secrets to being fast at Nashville in the Cup car? Save your tires. Yeah. Patient off the corner, save your tires. That's all I got.
Yeah, there you go. So
I would practice rolling the bottom, because I feel like if you can roll the bottom good, you're going to be good passing cars. Watch out for the bumping too, especially with the big Cup car. That's going to be even worse than it was in the truck and in the 87 car. Mm-hmm. Watch the bumps off too. Don't burn your tires off.
Yeah, there you go. The good advice from Jordan Erickson there. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at this replay that we got from Joseph Cervone here for Watkins Glen International. We got this for the Cedar Track Guide, which will be going up probably sometime tomorrow on the Cedar Trucks Twitter page, and let's take a look and see a lap around Watkins Glen International. Now, Jordan, I know you're not the biggest road course fan, but why don't you talk
Watkins Glen, man.
Yeah, this may as well be the oval of road courses.
Yeah,
why don't you tell us a little bit about this place as we watch a lap from Joseph here?
Yeah, so we ran here a couple weeks ago in the Supercar Series, and it was a lot of fun. Down here, you're going to sweep into it and hit the curbs and come back across the track. You use up a lot of track there on exit. It's going to get real tight up here when you're racing side by side. Not much passing opportunity until you get to the top of the hill. You're going to have one big passing opportunity. It's important to set yourself up well through the S's to carry speed down here, because this is a good passing opportunity into here. One of those situations where if somebody's looking, you might as well give them the spot, because you're probably not going to be able to go through. You're too wide. You're going to wreck. Somebody's looking, they're going to stick their nose in there. Again, another spot here to keep your momentum up. Get a big run down the next backstretch to set up another passing zone where, again, you're a little bit more able to go too wide through here. So maybe you can defend a little bit more. But I'm glad you got a professional to do this lap, because that certainly would not be me on a road course.
Yeah, so the nice thing about turn 10 there is the fact that in turn 10, if you can stay to the outside of a driver, you get the inside lane going into 11. So we'll watch the same lap back, but at half speed, and we'll try and point out what you can see here. So Joseph Cervone coming down into turn number 1. And the one thing that I pointed out is the fact that the 300 board is just about where he's losing or slowing it down. And he gets a lot of wheel spin. Note how kicked out the rear end of the truck is here. And then he comes out.
He's pushing hard here.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. He's showing off. And he comes off of turn number 1, which is the 90.
This is not a race run. This is what I would call a qualifying run.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're taped up.
Yeah, through the S's. And this is something that I pointed out in the track guide video that's going to go up here in a few hours. Is note the throttle response. You'll never be able to be full throttle through the actual corner portion of this track, even with the giant spoiler on the trucks. So you're going to have to just admit that you're not going to be able to get full throttle, and it's only going to get worse as the tires wear. So through the S's, up, right, then left, then a final right, and you do not want to hit this curbing. This curbing here
shoot you off into the wall.
Sucks. Don't ever, please don't ever touch that. These are good. These are good curbs. These are friendly curbs. You can hit those.
Through the S's too, it's important to be proactive about letting off rather than reactive, because if you're reactive to letting off to where you're already past the point of no return, so to speak, when you need to be letting off, you've already probably killed too much speed here for the backstretch. If you're letting off at that curb versus before the curbing up here at the top of the hill, that's probably too late for you.
Would you argue that the S's are probably the hardest part of this racetrack?
Finesse wise, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just they're like, technically, I guess they're not really too terribly difficult, but like getting it perfect, like there's so much time to be made up because of that long backstretch there and a run into the bus stop. And honestly, I would say probably the bus stop for me is the hardest corner of the track.
Yeah. Once the tires wear, I could see that for sure, because
there's just so much different. There's such a big difference between like hitting it right and not hitting it right.
Yeah.
If you don't hit it right, you lose a ridiculous amount of time, versus where if you hit it right, you pick up a little bit of time. There's more time to be lost here than there is to be gained.
The thing that hits me about it is watch his brake input here on this lap, and note when I'm gonna hit it right when there. So he's starting to brake. He's like 350 feet, 400 feet maybe, where he's starting to...
race run, you're probably braking at the 400.
Yeah.
Like a split second after the 400 anyway.
Yeah, he's braking right here. So first trace of the brake is at 400. So you're braking at about 400 feet. And of course, if you got a fancy prototype or GT car, you're braking somewhere around here, or an Indy car. But these are heavy trucks, so you're braking here. So
yeah, I think that was similar braking point for the supercar, I believe.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
fairly similar.
I black out whenever I race road courses. I just wake up and I'm somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's more like in the middle. I think it's probably closer to like a 300 if you want to split the difference there. Into the inner loop. And the thing about this, and I want to actually go to the cockpit view real quick and show you this, is you really do legitimately basically aim for this Armco barrier. Like, that's really the point where you want to aim for. And you'll see it here when Joseph makes the turn. The truck drifts out to the right.
Did he correct? Like, I think he took too much. I think he corrected back.
I think he did. Let's watch the wheel here. I'm using the hell of the pen tool tonight. And, yeah, he stretched it. Yeah, he straightened it out just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Turned in too early. No, that's, I mean, it is what you can get a lot of curb there.
Yeah, absolutely. So hits this right-hand curb, and I'll just cut to his rear or far chase. Yeah, he's on that curb. That's okay. That's actually not going to trigger an off track, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you got somebody trying to enter in the normal way or on this concrete, you're really going to have a shot of just bouncing right into them, which is not cool. Don't do that. So
that's what I'm saying is like, for somebody defending, like, that's not the spot to try to push your luck and try to defend down, because more than likely you're just going to get bounced.
Yeah,
and your race is probably not. Yeah, it's not going to go well for you. That's a spot to give up a spot and just live and fight another day.
Yeah, and remember, there is no incident limit at the road courses, but there are only there is only one caution that's randomly thrown. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you only have one caution, that's one chance to make up ground, and you don't know when that caution's coming,
or if it already
it already happened.
Yeah,
and then you're completely screwed. So a road course is one of those places where if somebody gets a run on you, might as well just chalk your take your licks and continue on and try to get them back. But I mean, most of the time, I think if somebody's faster, you're not going to hold them off for much more than a lap or so anyway.
Yeah, I wish we could have the ability to have like oval style full course cautions on the road courses, but it's just not practical. I know we've had the question come up before, and we did try it in the Court National Cup Series at one point. We had a most sport race, I think 2 years ago, where we actually threw the cautions for every incident. But I'm telling you right now, this is a better alternative, because 3-minute caution laps at like 6 times, not fun. So here's the run through the inner loop again, and you'll see he hits every curb here, right, left, just drifts it out just a hair, left and right, and now the entry into the S's, or not into the S's, but into the carousel is so important, because the carousel here, you really float it probably longer than you think you need to. It's just such a corner where you just have to let it float and float and float and float and float. But when you finally put the power down on the exit of the corner to get down the middle stretch here, going into 10, it feels rewarding as hell.
Oh yeah, when you hit that corner, that's one of them corners that you hit it right, is because you're able to cut it down and you're able to get back to the full throttle and never get off full throttle all the way to the next braking zone.
Yeah, in fact, you'll see.
Which most of the time for me, like, I have to let off twice to try to make the corner because I'm don't know what I'm doing. So yeah.
But you'll see it right here, just a quick blip, and then quick blip. All right, I got
full throttle.
Yep, full.
And those quick blips are just him testing traction, making sure, okay, can I get it here? Can I get it here? I can get it here.
Yeah. Can't drift it out wide like in the real world, because this place actually still punishes you for drifting it out wide, and then off to the left, and then drifting over to the right where the boot comes back in the long course. And you really start braking at about the 300 mark. There's a grandstand here now, which is a great tool to actually brake at, but that's not here. We need a rescan of Watkins Glen.
I like braking here at there's a kink in the Armco.
Yeah, where the tunnel is. Yeah, there's a tunnel here.
I like there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a tunnel right here at Watkins Glen, and that's right there. So basically, right when you pass it, you got to keep in mind, we're flying at this point. We're going 155 miles an hour. So in real time, that's that. So like it's significantly quicker than it is when we break it down. With
breaking point wise, I'm always looking for something off of the track, on the wall, in the green, whatever, what have you. Ovals, I'm looking for sprint, cup size, monster, those kind of things.
Yeah. Billboards, wall graphics.
Yeah, just because like if you're packed up behind somebody, you don't know where. If you're looking for something on track, it's tough to see.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few places where, Laguna is one of them. I think into the kink, there's like a little piece of, there's like a shadow or something where you can use that to brake on or whatever. But, look for something off of the racetrack to help you out with braking.
Another great braking tool going into the corkscrew at Laguna Seca is there's a drawn banner that overhangs too. That's also a good spot for Laguna Seca. Going through 10, and like I mentioned, this is a really key corner because if you end up on the outside of somebody and you can hang on, you are on the inside for turn 11. So it's a really key point. So if you can stay to the outside, it's tough to do, but if you can, then you can really open things up for when you get here to turn 11. And this is a good passing spot too. It's not exactly as prime as the 90 or the inner loop, but you could still make some passes through 10 and 11.
I mean, you can defend in there too. That's really another corner, the same as the other one, where if you defend, if you can defend on the outside, you probably get a little bit better run, but then you're still fighting that guy because it's two right-handers in a row. Yeah. So that side guy's still going to have position on you, but sometimes you can get a run off the corner there, and you can just make it up. Actually, it's probably three right-handers in a row, really, because the start of the S's. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fantastic road course. There's a reason why it's probably the there you go.
Right, you don't do that.
There's probably a reason why it's arguably the most popular road course on iRacing. I mean, it's a blast, and you can take just about everything to it, and historical, former home of the U.S. Grand Prix.
I think honestly, it's easy, right? Like it's one of the quote unquote easier road courses because there's a lot of good braking points to have, but it's a very hard one to like make up time. Like once I hit my max lap time, I probably am not going to get any faster than that because like it's just one of those tracks where it's just hard to pick up time.
Yeah, and I would argue that it's maybe the most competitive road course of any of them that we go to in any stock car series because every league schedules Watkins Glen. Every single one did growing up and everything. So this was the one that...
Yeah, I can count on one hand how many times I ran Sonoma in K3.
Yeah, like it was always Watkins Glen. So so it's a place that is really well ingrained in just about everybody's mind. So that will be another road course. So again, we'll review the rules. No tire limits, no incident limits. 50% fuel on the trucks, and I believe it's like a 62 lap race or 52 lap race. It's 52 because we ran 51 at CTMP. That was 1 lap difference. So you're looking at 3-4 stops. Going to be important on pit road. Don't speed, and of course, masked man making another appearance, throwing that yellow. Within 15 to 35 minutes of the start of the event on Monday night. There will be split practices. There will be a practice at 7:30, 2 practices at 7:30, one server 1, one server 2, and then the actual race server going up at 8:30 Eastern. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up, but I do want to quickly mention, because we are in a little bit of a crunch right now because the Court Drive for Supercars Championship server is going up literally right now. So some housekeeping items. We will not be doing a show for Watkins Glen like we mentioned in the past. We don't do these shows for road courses. The next race we do after this, and again, it's another off week after a road course. Just again, the schedule, way that works out. This was supposed to be a weekly show. I want to stress. It was supposed to be a weekly show. It just has never panned out to be a weekly show. But after this point, it's ovals the rest of the way, so we should have a show every week. However, that show will probably be moving days. The Court MH Design Series will be wrapping up on November 10th on a Tuesday. We will be moving the show to Tuesday nights for the remainder of the season starting November 17th. So just to kind of clear things up on Thursday nights, to make things a little bit easier. That first show, though, Jordan, is Langley Speedway.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Langley Speedway recently made base content, so everybody owns it, and it's a small, tight bull ring. It is the tightest shortest track we will go to this season. If you thought Nashville was crazy, if you thought New Smyrna was crazy, nuh-uh. Langley will be insane. So we hope you can join us for that. Jordan, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you coming on out and helping us out. You were the kind of the spark. You and Brandon Ward were the spark for this show, and you helped me out with the pilot, and you've seen what you and Mitchell have done in helping this show become kind of a thing. Greatly thank you so much for making this possible.
No, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity too, and I certainly appreciate everybody who pulls something from this. I might, might not be the greatest at everything, but at least I hope that I instill something in somebody, and somebody takes something from it that is positive, and we can figure, if one person picks up one thing from this and it accounts for one less incident point for that single person, I think it's a win. So
yeah, absolutely. And as always, positive mindset here at CDRA. So driver development first. That's what it's for. It's the hashtag that we hammer home. So that's what we try and do, and we try and make it fun. We don't try and beat up people. It's trying to make it fun, unless you're Charlie Brown. So have a great night
unless
tonight.
You the field on lap 2 at Talladega.
Oh, dang. There it is.
I waited the entire show to get that in.
There it is. Yes. I knew that was coming. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I wrecked myself. I wrecked everybody. All right. Thank you very much for watching CDRA Twitch Teach. And best of luck to everybody running the Court Drive for Supercars Championship race at Laguna Seca. Practice is up right now. We'll see you there, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.